Good evening, you're watching SU News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a man is attacked outside a Cleethorpes nightclub, a sixth form in Barton is to shut its doors, and Luke Adams will be in Beverley bringing us the story of one town with two churches. And later in tonight's programme, Linda Dello of Centre 4 tells me about a prestigious award they might be likely to be winning. And before that, I'm joined by Francesca Marrett in this Alcohol Awareness Week and Cheryl George in this Self-Care Week. Police are appealing for witnesses after a man sustained cuts to his face following an incident outside a Cleethorpes nightclub. It happened between 2:50 and 3:05 on Saturday morning, close to the Sea Road venue. A 22-year-old victim had been involved in a quarrel and began to walk away when a glass bottle was thrown and hit him in the face. A 22-year-old man was arrested at the scene and has been released on bail pending further inquiries. A strike has been called off in Iceland after an agreement was reached on fishermen's salaries. However, two smaller unions, who are not part of the agreement, remain on strike. The majority of Iceland's fishing vessels will leave port tomorrow following a successful negotiation over the weekend, which is valid until the end of 2018. This should ensure fish supplies for Grimsby Market. The latest vessel to sail the Humber has been unveiled. The Humber Sounder will be used by the hydrology team at Associated British Ports to map the ever-changing riverbed in the estuary. It's hoped the £250,000 worth of equipment she's been fitted with will mean surveys can be made in rough weather. Andrew Furman is the harbour master on the Humber.
It's our duty as the Harbour Authority to ensure we mark the safest channels. We need to find the best and safest way to do that for all the stakeholders of the river, to ensure we maintain its safety, its efficiency and protect the environment.
The Humber Sounder is there to fulfil our surveying role on the Humber, so we do about 800 surveys a year. We pride ourselves on these surveys as some of the most accurate in the world because we have the lowest underkeel clearance in the world, so we're only 20 centimetres we're taking ships over some of the perilous mud flats that we have out there.
She's new, so she'll be more reliable. She's a twin hull design, which will hopefully make her more stable, giving greater accuracy. And the suite that she's been fitted with, over £250,000 worth of equipment, will give us the most up-to-date technical information straight away.
Baysgarth Sixth Form in Barton will close in 2018 as it's no longer financially viable. The school will remain open for students in Year 7 to 11. The last few years have seen a significant reduction of sixth form provision from the central government. Now that Baysgarth Sixth Form has only 46 students, it's no longer financially viable to continue. On tonight's Hot Topic, I'll be speaking to the Member of Parliament for Great Grimsby, Melanie On. Here's a preview of what she had to say.
It doesn't change my view of Jeremy's capabilities and where we are now. I'm willing to give Jeremy the opportunity to prove himself, but that does mean that Jeremy needs to work on that and he needs to start communicating better with his MPs. And at the moment, I think we're all still settling back into Westminster after a very fractious summer. So we'll see how it goes. The membership, obviously, are really keen to see the Labour Party led by Jeremy, and this is his opportunity.
And you can see that edition tonight on Estuary TV at 8 p.m. Work on the redevelopment of Hull's Woodford Leisure Centre has now started. It'll provide a new 25-metre 6-lane swimming pool and a learner pool, a new sauna, steam room and a cafe. Further work will continue later this month. The work's carried out by Hull Esteem Consortium, LAP, and it's expected to be complete in early 2018. Now, my guests today, or my first guests today, are both here for various health weeks. Cheryl George from North Lincolnshire Council, Cheryl, I beg your pardon, as a public health consultant, and Francesca Marrett talking about alcohol. It's Self-Care Week and it's Alcohol Awareness Week.
It is, yeah.
Is there any connection between these two things, I wonder?
Oh yes,
Definitely.
a great
Most
connection.
definitely.
First of all, it's coming up to Christmas. People may tend to have a couple more tipples and might be good for their livers. What's the advice, Francesca?
There is, I think the advice from Alcohol Awareness Week this year is very much to know your risk. Understand that with overconsumption of alcohol, particularly, there are risks to your health. It is associated with a number of different forms of cancers, perhaps that you wouldn't expect. Liver disease is prevalent in those who perhaps consume a little more than they should. And there are also risks with perception. There can be risks for people who have a history of overconsumption of alcohol in terms of their likelihood of developing sorts of dementia, different forms of dementia in future. And so it's about knowing these things and knowing your risk.
And there's a hidden harm aspect here. It's not always obvious. The hidden harm is the phrase that you
There is the hidden harm that we're looking at Voluntary Action North Lincolnshire, and we're very excited to be launching our hidden harm project. We've just been awarded a very substantial grant, very generous grant from the Big Lottery Reaching Communities Fund. And we have just appointed a couple of family support coordinators who will be working directly with families who are experiencing substance misuse and overuse problems and challenges in their lives in North Lincolnshire.
So I must have, but
Please
it's not all about booze, you know. Cheryl, there are what other things? I mean, it's the self-care awareness week as well, and we presumably, on the whole, most of us know how to take care of ourselves. But what should we be thinking of particularly?
Well, I mean, just to say initially that North Lincolnshire Council are absolutely committed to people sort of being encouraged and supported to take more responsibility for their own health and well-being. Life expectancy in the last 120 years has nearly doubled. People now can expect to live to be around 80, depending on what gender you are and where you live. But length of life and quality of life is so different between our least deprived and our less deprived communities. And, you know, a lot of the illnesses that do make us ill now, our long-term conditions, up to 70% of those are largely preventable. So we're talking our biggest killers now tend to be lifestyle related. Yeah. So you've got your heart disease, you've got your respiratory illnesses, you've got your strokes, you've got your cancers, and you've got your lifestyle factors. Alcohol, you've just mentioned, made reference to alcohol, but you've got, number one is still tobacco. You know, and you know, smoking cessation services are there to support and smoke-free environment agendas. We're trying to get people to smoke less and be in safe environments. But obesity is our number two, overweight and obesity.
I noticed that the obesity you always used to think as a sort of a chap would get a bit of a middle-age spread as I'm developing here. But I noticed that the young seem to be bigger than they used to be. Well, at least when they seem to be bigger than I remember them in the 70s and the 80s.
Absolutely, we're seeing obesity, overweight and obesity across our population and in our young, steadily rising. We tend to have halted the sort of reception year children's obesity levels, which is good news, but by the time they get to year 6, it's sharply escalating. And in North and North East, we are higher than the national average for adults and children. So obviously, by people just making a few lifestyle changes.
Also obvious things coming up to winter, get flu shots and things like that.
Well,
so
you know, all of that. If people have already got a long-term condition, it's managing your pharmacy and your medications that you've been prescribed, taking them properly, trying to keep warm and having good food, like have food in the freezer where applicable for the cold weather. You know, have your flu jabs when you're invited for flu jabs.
Just give out some details here. www.selfcareforum.org is one of the places people can go if they want more advice from your side, Cheryl, and expert patient at northlinks.gov.uk. That's another one.
That's a service for people who've got long-term conditions.
Francesca, who should people contact if they want to know more from you?
www.vanl.org.uk.
Good health. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Time now for reflections, this week coming from Canon Edward Yarosh of the Holy Souls Church in Scunthorpe.
At this time of year, people of all faiths and none take time to remember those who've lost their lives in war and conflict. Call it Remembrance Sunday or Remembrance Weekend, beginning on Armistice Day on the 11th of November, going through this year to Remembrance Sunday, which fell on the 13th. And so people of all faiths and none stop and in the 2-minute silence remember those who've lost their lives in war and conflict. They remember the sacrifices that those people made And they also remember and think about and hope for a world in which there'll be no more need of war and conflict. For Christians, it's as well as a time of remembering, it's also a time of prayer. And many churches will either hold special services for Remembrance Weekend, or they'll make sure that those who lost their lives in war and conflict are particularly remembered in services over that weekend, which is what we did here at our church at all the services we had at this time. Also, a number of members of our congregation took part in the civic commemorations which took place in town. For Catholic Christians in particular, the whole month of November is a time for remembering those who've gone before us to God, for remembering that they too hope to share in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, our Saviour. And it's with that thought in mind that we remember those who've lost their lives in war and conflict. Pray that, having died with Christ, they may also share his resurrection.
And my apologies to the canon if I mispronounced his name. One of my attempts must have been right, though. Join me after the break when we'll have a roundup of all the latest sporting action, and Linda Dello will be here to tell me about a possible award for Centre 4 in Grimsby. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, a roundup of all the latest sporting action, and Linda Dello tells me about a possible award for, well, local government in the community here in Grimsby. Four local businesses have improved their shop fronts thanks to grant funding from East Lindsey District Council. Rags to Riches in Wainfleet, People First Mobility in Skegness, and Stephen J. Hewitt Optometrists and Dane's Selfie Living, perhaps, both in Louth, have benefited from the council's shopfront grant scheme. It opened in December, offering up to £3,000 towards project costs. A total of more than £45,000 has been awarded across the district, benefiting 24 businesses. The scheme was launched to enhance the appearance of shop fronts and increase footfall on the high streets and improve the economy of the area. A local support group has made a donation to Scunthorpe Hospital. The Cardiac Rehabilitation Interest Group has brought an automatic blood pressure monitor to the hospital's cardiorespiratory unit. A part donation of £2,000 was given to the group by the Yorkshire Building Society in Barton. The charity is a local group which provides support to cardiac patients, their carers and families across North Lincolnshire. Cardiac physiologist Liz Tilley said the machine automatically takes a patient's blood pressure every 3 minutes, which means staff don't have to do it themselves. Shoppers in Grimsby will enjoy free parking at Abbey Walk. As part of late-night shopping events in the run-up to Christmas, the multi-storey car park will be free between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. every Thursday from the 24th of November to the 15th of December, along with every evening during Christmas week. And now Luke Adams brings us two churches in Beverley which have got together to raise some money.
I'm in one town with two churches where Beverley's two historic churches are joining forces for a major £15 million fundraising campaign to restore their historic buildings and hopefully bring more tourists to the town. Becky Lumley is the vicar of St Mary's and explains what work needs to be done.
The project is about the two churches working together to raise somewhere in the region of £15 million. The majority of that will be spent on making them safe for the long term, repairing the roof at the Minster which is leaking and repairing very fragile stonework at St Mary's. And the rest of the money will be spent hopefully in engaging people with the story of Beverley through these two churches. Beverley was one of the most important towns in the Middle Ages. It was the fourth richest, believe it or not. It was much more important than other places like London, and it had a thriving industry. The medieval guilds collected here, and they did all sorts of exciting things. They made things, they had musicians, they had artists, and they had some of the best artisans, which of course have produced these magnificent churches.
St Mary's has been in existence for over 900 years, while the Minster's past can be traced back to the 8th century, and the two churches are amongst the largest of their kind in the country.
We're trying to create a project where we not only repair these magnificent churches, but we also make them a place of real heritage and excitement and splendour for future generations as well.
Now, North East Lincolnshire Council's work to deliver services with community organisations has been shortlisted for a national award. I'm joined now by Linda Dello, Chief Executive of one of those organisations, Centre 4, to tell me more about it. Linda, welcome. Thank you for coming in. What is this award, and what's North East Lincolnshire Council done to deserve it?
This is about North East Lincolnshire Council being a bit more innovative and doing things a bit more in line with community wants and needs, really. And I think what they did, they've looked at what services they deliver and what could really be better offered within the community. So, for example, one of the things that we're currently delivering is bus passes, which I think we spoke about the last time I was on the show.
That's right. This is what Centre 4 is, one of the services it's offering on behalf of the council, is it?
That's correct. I think I'm right in saying that North East Lincolnshire Council is the only council in the country to have put the bus pass delivery into the community. And when they've done that, they've not just thought about location. This is about, I think, that social added value that the public sector are to look at now when they're contracting services. And I think the social value of putting this into a community venue such as ours is that people won't just come and get their bus pass. They'll engage in other things. They'll perhaps call and have a cup of tea in our cafe. They'll drop in the library. We give them a list of activities that are going on there. That wouldn't happen if they were still getting them in the municipal offices.
So this is not just an award for the frequency with which they can dig up the roads through the centre of town, which they certainly would get the gold medal for. Who is it who's giving the award?
I'm unsure who's giving the award, to be honest. There's still another stage to go through yet. We're at the shortlisted stage, and I understand there's a presentation that we have to deliver in London in January.
So this is some sort of central government body giving a prize to local government? Or
yeah, it's done through the Local Government Association.
Right.
But of course, we'll join, I'm sure, into some sort of national thing. But it's a London presentation in January, and then the actual awards will be in March.
I noticed that local councils take away vast amounts of my money. Isn't that reward enough? Don't I get those services anyway without having to give them an award as well?
It's not strictly you giving them the award, though, is it, Hugh?
No, it's strictly giving them lots of my money.
Well,
I get governed in return. Oh, never mind. Maybe I'm being churlish.
Well,
I'll wish you luck.
Maybe you are, but yeah, I think it's really innovative, and I think, you know, the council are looking to partner more with community organisations, and surely that has to be a better thing. You'll be getting better value for the money that you're paying your local council, Hugh. I'm
absolutely sure you're right, but only because you tell me so, Linda, and I'm glad you have. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Time now for the sports. New Grimsby Town manager Marcus Bignot's first league game in charge ended in relative disappointment. The Mariners held a 2-goal lead over Barnet thanks to Omar Bogle's first half double. But Barnet forward Joe Akindi scored 2 penalties in 5 minutes early in the second period to rescue the visitors a point. Bogle himself missed a penalty in the 93rd minute, which would have sealed a win and completed his hat-trick. Scunthorpe United's flying start to the season continued with a 1-0 away victory at Coventry City. Josh Morris scored the only goal of the game to send the Iron 5 points clear at the summit of League One. Elsewhere, North Ferriby United suffered heartbreak in their televised game at the weekend. A stunning Stephen Brogan free kick had given the villagers a shock half-time lead, but they were pegged back by Woking, who scored an added time equaliser. On to Hull City now. An international duo David Mailer and Du Merci Mbokani were both on their respective winning sides during the international break. Mailer came off the bench in the first half for the Republic of Ireland as they won 1-0 against Austria in Vienna, while Mbokani played a full 90 minutes as the Democratic Republic of Congo beat Guinea 2-1. Elsewhere, Robert Snodgrass played 82 minutes of Scotland's 3-0 defeat to England at Wembley, while Marcus Henriksen and Adam Diomande both featured in Norway's 2-1 loss to the Czech Republic. On to rugby, and Hull FC announced 2 bits of business over the weekend ahead of their first day of pre-season. Former Hull KR halfback Albert Kelly has signed for the Black and Whites after he mixed 2 years at the Robins. Kelly was part of the side that made it to the 2015 Challenge Cup final, but was suspended by the club last season. Meanwhile, winger Steve Michaels has signed a contract extension at the KCOM Stadium. And that's it for all the sport. That's all for the sport. That's almost it for all of us tonight. There's just time to show you very quickly a picture sent in by one of our viewers, Pete Barwick, showing Withensea. Very wonderful, sort of mini sandcastle is what it is. Thank you very much, Pete, for sending that in. Please do send more in as the winter comes on and the weather becomes more dramatic. If you have a story for us, you know how to get in touch with us. Please contact our Facebook or Twitter pages, email news@estuary.tv, here are the details, or phone Grimsby 01472315553, or you can write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN345BQ. That's it for this evening, I'm afraid. Please join us again tomorrow, but for now, from all of us, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be cloudy and breezy with outbreaks of light rain, staying dry though for much of the night and feeling mild with maximum temperatures of 10 degrees. Tuesday will be cloudy with patchy light rain, becoming dry and brighter during the morning, followed by sunny spells with maximum temperatures of 14 degrees. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, homeless protesters in Hull are given notice to leave, the future of a Cleethorpes footpath, a fitting tribute to fallen soldiers in Cottingham, and an historic church in Hull gets some TLC. And later in the programme, Ross Stafford and Matthew Martin tell me about a basketball club slam dunk in North Lincolnshire. Homelessness protesters in Hull who set up a camp in Queen's Gardens last week must move by 4 p.m. tomorrow. A county court judge ruled today after Hull City Council took legal action against the campaigners. The organisers of Tent City are campaigning over the lack of houses given to homeless people. However, the council has confirmed they've found accommodation for 6 rough sleepers. Organisers of Tent City are advising homeless people to reject the hostels until a permanent home is given to them. Proposals to drop plans to put fluoride in Hull's drinking water were discussed at a council meeting today. The leader of the Liberal Democrats in Hull, Mike Ross, says that fluoridation isn't cost-effective and there are better ways to tackle dental health. He says instead of simply adding fluoride to the water supply, it would be much better to increase spending on dental health education and target those people who need the help most. Hull City Council says any plans to fluoridate the city's drinking water will go to a full public consultation. A 2-day inquiry into the future of a controversial Cleethorpes footpath started today. It'll address the dispute over the footpath at New Clee waterfront. Fred McNamara brings us this report.
For the next 2 days, and possibly beyond, the future of this controversial footpath in Cleethorpes is up in the air. An inquiry is currently underway to determine the future of the footpath on New Clee waterfronts. Associated British Ports bought the land in order to construct a £5 million seafood village. However, their decision to fence off the footpath was overturned by the council back in 2011, thanks to campaigners who fought a hard battle to win back the right-of-way to the route. There was further controversy when campaigners argued that the council had mistakenly approved a route along the sea wall, an area which was described as being a health and safety hazard. Representatives from both those in support of public right-of-way and the lead objector, Associated British Ports, are currently in talks whilst the inquiry continues. Fred McNamara, Estuary News.
A 23-year-old woman from Hull has been given a conditional discharge for fly tipping by magistrates. Jade Rowbotham of Lowther Street appeared at Beverley Magistrates Court on the 9th of November and pleaded guilty to a breach of duty of care under the Environmental Protection Act of 1990. It follows a complaint made to East Yorkshire Council's Environmental Control Team earlier this year after household waste was dumped on land in South Cave, owned by the Woodland Trust. The items found included stair gates, a mattress, a bed frame and a child's outdoor playhouse. She was given a 12-month conditional discharge in order to pay £200 compensation fees to the Woodland Trust. She must also pay costs of £150 and a victim surcharge of £85. New streets in East Yorkshire's largest village are to be named after soldiers from Cottingham as a fitting tribute to those who died serving their country. 12 full names and over 100 surnames of those killed in battle have been approved by East Riding Council. The names will be addresses in the village's new housing developments. Parish Councillor Kevin Casson explains how the community has embraced the project.
After the public appeal, help from yourselves and the local papers, we've managed to collate 12 full names for the streets, naming for the fallen soldiers. We've also spoke to the East Riding Council. We've put the names in, the names have been accepted. We have 121 surnames and 12 full names, and we've added a few street names as well, which we thought was more as poignant to go into the street naming bank. So the future naming of developments and roads and streets in the area, the names of the fallen can be respectively used. If people have relatives that was fallen in the Great War or the Second World War, if they could write in to the Cottingham Parish Council via myself or just the Parish Council, giving permission for their relatives' name to be used in full, we would greatly appreciate that.
Hull's last remaining Victorian listed church will benefit from a new roof. Luke Adams went along to the church at the centre of Hull's fishing community to find out more.
I'm here at a church which is at the heart of Hull's fishing community. It's to benefit from a new roof, and I'm now off inside to meet the Reverend Tony Cotson, Reverend of St John the Baptist, to tell me more. Exploratory work will begin next Friday on the church, which is located on the corner of Lockwood Street and St George's Road. A Heritage Lottery grant and the church themselves have contributed money to carry out opening up work before a full £400,000 re-roofing can commence next year.
The roof is in a poor condition. Apparently, to use the technical term, the slates are frying, or fraying. They're just crumbling. And when we have high winds, the slates can be dislodged. And we had a storm last January, and it resulted in some of the slates leaving a hole in the roof at the top. And we had to get a cherry picker from Wakefield, of all places. There wasn't one large enough in Hull to reach over the top to do the job. So that cost £2,000 to replace half a dozen slates. A lot of money. We can't keep doing things like that. So it's time for the roof to be looked at in the same way that some of the local schools have, of a similar age, and they've all got the new roofs on. So a new roof will provide insulation on the inside and another century of community involvement for this great building.
And Tony says the church has become the centre of the community after recent internal work, something they now want to build on.
We've had some changes done in the church within the last 12 months, and it's enabled community groups to use the building. In this community, we're really short of space. Even the schools, some of their sessions, they'll come into church to use the building on a much more regular basis now. We have young children's groups and we have elderly groups meeting in the church, and that's how it should be. It's not just to happen on a Sunday morning. The church needs to be used by community throughout the week.
The church holds a special historic significance to the city, and as its vicar, Tony wants to make sure the repairs are carried out to keep St John the Baptist at the heart of West Hull.
Over the years, what with the bombing in the Second World War, and I suppose with the churches just coming to the end of their life, this is the last of the Church of England listed Victorian churches in the west of the city. So it's so important that we retain this building because it holds the story of our community. And stories are so important. That makes us who we are.
East Riding Council staff and councillors took part in a marathon tweetathon today. It was all part of a nationwide campaign raising awareness of the local services delivered by councils, such as collecting waste or trading standards, using the hashtag #OurDay. That's OURDAY. In last year's campaign, over 8,000 Twitter accounts participated, sending more than 10,000 tweets and reaching 3 million people. The campaign has been organised by the Local Government Association, which represents more than 370 councils in England and Wales. Leader of East Riding Council, Stephen Parnaby, said Our Day is a chance for residents to understand the vital work councils do in their communities and to look beyond the obvious, like collecting bins and fixing potholes, so the councillor said. Grimsby Institute is providing further development and training of education in the Scarborough area. It's purchased the Scarborough campus, which was formerly owned by the University of Hull. Jill Alton is the Chief Executive of the Grimsby Institute Group, and she explains how the new courses will meet the needs of the local job market.
Construction is a big area, so we'll be looking at developing a new construction facility. Hospitality, we're looking to develop that further, and as you're well aware, we've recently had a dinner with Michelin star chefs. Those Michelin star chefs who are ex-students of ours want to come back and rubber stamp and kite mark our courses, so we're looking at growing our courses in hospitality, which suits the Scarborough because it's a visitor economy. You know, it is a tourism area, and we're looking at working in conjunction with the UTC in Scarborough to look at how we offer engineering together, and then there are opportunities for new provision, computing, because of GCHQ being based in Scarborough. So what we're doing is looking at the big employers in Scarborough, we're talking to them, we're saying what are your jobs for the future, and then how do we develop provision that enables the young people of Scarborough to access those jobs.
Now, just to warm up before an interview after the break, I'll just introduce my guest for today. Ross Matthew, you are here to talk about the Dagenham Eagles.
Yes, that's right, yeah. A basketball team that's just moved to Scunthorpe. We've been playing in the National League. This is our 3rd year, and we've just been promoted into Division 2.
And you're the trainer, and Matthew, you're the...
player, team captain.
You're the team captain, okay. Yeah. We will do proper sports reporting in a couple of minutes' time. Don't go away. Join me after the break when we'll have a roundup of the latest sporting action, along with these two, and I'll be talking to some, I'll be talking to these basketball players looking for a bit more support. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, we'll have a roundup of all the latest sporting news, and I'll be talking to Ross Stafford and Matthew Martin about a basketball club looking for more support. Scunthorpe Hospital has benefited from a donation to the neonatal intensive care unit. David White ran the North Lincolnshire Half Marathon in May and raised £600, which enabled the purchase of a breast milk warmer. It comes after David and his wife Melissa realised that the unit only had one warmer, with several parents waiting to use it. The couple's son, Ollie, was born on the ward 5 weeks early last November. Sarah Judd, Ward's sister on the unit, said it'll be really useful to have 2 of the warmers during busy periods, as it's really important the milk is kept at the right temperature so nutrients aren't damaged. North East Lincolnshire Council's waste team will promote recycling this month. Council advisors will be on hand to offer tips on all aspects of recycling, including helping people find out what should go into each recycling bin, composting, and the Council's Love Food, Hate Waste campaign. More than 45,300 tonnes of waste per year are thrown into general household bins across the country. The first event will be held on the 21st of November at Morrison's Supermarket in Laceby from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And I'm joined now again by Ross Stafford and Matthew Martin, part of the Dagenham Eagles basketball club based in Lincolnshire. Due to a lack of funding, the club is still classed as an amateur team, but it's playing in Division 2, the highest level ever played in Lincolnshire. Gentlemen, glad you're back. You've explained to you our Dagenham Eagles just quickly. Need to know what that name comes from, Dagenham.
Well, I think a few hundred years ago, Doncaster wasn't Doncaster. It was Dagenham.
A couple of thousand years ago, I think.
Maybe a couple of thousand. There was also a school that we were part of where it all began, and it was just a high school, and we started with youth teams. And then the players went elsewhere. Some went to America, university. The players came back, and we decided to create a men's team, which started at the lowest level. And 3 years later, we're here. In Division 2.
In very much the very upper echelons of the game. Yeah. You moved from Doncaster originally, that's where you got your name from, but you moved from Scunthorpe. What caused that move, Matthew?
Basically, the main thing was the size of the facility that we had. Wasn't big enough, court size. There was no stands for, we had a lot of kids there, a lot of parents, and we didn't have enough room for them to watch the games. So just those kind of things we've had to... that's why we've had to move. So.
It's for increased demand. You couldn't cater for all the people who wanted to come and support you.
Yeah.
What more do you need then?
Well, because we've moved, we're looking for a little bit of, we need a higher fan base. We'd like to get a few more people through the doors. And then maybe a sponsor, somebody we could maybe wear on our shirts, a new kit. could just help us out. It's not like a lot of money we need. It's just to help us compete in this league with the bigger teams that we're playing against.
Well, tell me about League Two. Clearly there's a League One as well. Are you professional? Are you semi-professional? What level is this of basketball?
It's classed as semi-professional. There's a lot of teams in the league that will pay their players. There's also a lot of teams that are linked to big universities, and they'll offer scholarships, and that's how they'll get maybe a few players from Europe or America to come over and play with them.
Well, this is a national league, Matthew. You're playing all over the country, presumably.
Yeah, we are. We play, London, probably the furthest, and then we've had Birmingham's, Derby, Newcastle. So we're all over. Ipswich this weekend. So yeah.
And aspirations to move into League One.
Yeah, that's the goal for me. When I came back, I wanted to move, up leagues every year if we could, and then obviously the professional level is the main goal. We'll see kind of how that goes.
And is League One the professional level then?
The BBL is the professional level league. The League One I actually played in a few years ago. It's another semi-professional, but again you get paid players and things like that. But yeah, the BBL is the top league in England.
Now you say when you came back a moment ago, back from where? What were you doing away?
I was at college in America, playing basketball there, studying. Was there for about 4 years, and then came back.
In Ohio, I think?
Ohio, yeah. Ohio for 1 year, and then Indiana for about 3 years.
So you've been thoroughly Americanized into this game?
Yeah, pretty much. My dad's American, and he's kind of done that whole thing as well. So it's always been a goal of mine to go to America, and then now I'm back trying to help the club.
Well, you have a very international captain in that case, but it's one of the big four sports, baseball and American football and ice hockey, I suppose, and basketball.
Yeah.
The big, massive million dollar industries in the United States. But we don't know much about it in this country.
Yeah, well, obviously football really dominates everything in this country. I think basketball's got a lot bigger over the last 10 years. We've had a couple of players, 3 or 4 players have actually gone over to play in the NBA. There's a gentleman at the moment, Luol Deng, was from London. He's playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. So it is getting bigger, and we've got a lot more talent coming through. So hopefully, we'll do a little bit better next time as the Olympics.
It's the trick that is to get televised, I guess, and that's if you get the television coverage, that brings in the crowds, and that's a virtuous circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Exposure is a huge thing.
There was a little bit of added knowledge, I suppose, of the game during the Olympics, because it was an Olympic sport, I think. Did that help? Do you think? Did that bring in the crowds a bit more?
I think it did, yeah. I think this year the BBL's actually been televised. Some of the games are actually being televised now. I'm not sure how that started exactly, but it's a step forward. So it's not every single game, but it's, I'd say half maybe are televised. So now maybe that's the next step, is to get every single game on television.
Ross, Matthew is clearly freakishly tall, but you and I are sort of normal human size.
Yes.
Is it a game accessible to people like us, or do we have to be lofty?
If you're tall, you definitely have an advantage. But no, there's a lot of small people that play. There was.
I didn't say we were small. I said we were perfectly.
Yes, we are. There was a chap in the NBA at 5'3" who had a good career over a decade playing. As a gentleman now, 5'8". There's a lot of players that maybe don't have the height, but the agility, the quickness, the explosiveness.
So younger people, children especially, they can get into this game, which is it's never dull, is it? It's a game you'd encourage children to get into?
I think it's great to get kids involved with basketball. I think it does a lot of things. Definitely getting them involved in team spirit.
Okay, Dagenham Eagles. Anybody who wants to get in touch, then they can get in touch with you via. I guess you've got a website somewhere, have you?
We do, yes. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much, and
good
luck.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Thank you.
Time now for the rest of the sport. City has confirmed today that Will Keane will be out of action for 12 months. The striker went off injured in their 2-1 win against Southampton 10 days ago, later to discover the cause was knee ligament damage. He's undergone surgery today. Head coach Mike Phelan says to lose a player like with Keane's quality and potentially for such a long period of time is a big blow. Meanwhile, today, Bobby Mims has been confirmed as the club's new goalkeeping coach. He's previously had spells with clubs including Bolton, Blackburn and Blackpool and the Bahrain national team. Many of Grimsby Town's senior players have been in action this afternoon for the reserve side. Tom Bolarinwa scored a hat-trick for the Mariners side, which was a mix of senior pros and the youth team. Sean Touton and Rhys Brown also scored in the 5-0 win over Hartlepool United. North Ferriby United's Curtis Bateson says it'll take him another couple of weeks to get up to full match fitness. The winger came on in their 1-1 draw at Woking on Saturday, but says he's still not 100%. New Hull FC signing Jake Connor has praised the family feel of the club. The versatile utility back has joined the Black and Whites from the Huddersfield Giants and is already settling in well. Connor says his teammates all seem close and believes that's what makes a successful club. On to rugby union, and Hull Ionians were hammered 66-14 by Blaydon, while Hull RUFC won 23-5 against Cleckheaton in the Yorkshire Cup. Elsewhere, Scunthorpe lost 15-17 at Tyndale, while Halencians won 20-12 at Yarnbury. Prop forward Ryan Barron made the determined surge through the centre to open up the visitors' try-count before Ollie Dynan powered through to score their second. Josh Langford scored the third as Halencians registered their 5th victory in the opening 10 games of the campaign. And that's all for the sport. And that's all from us. Here's a quick picture, courtesy again of Pete Barwick, today showing Hull City Centre in all its glory. Perhaps you've a photo. If you have, you can send it in to us. Please do. Facebook, email, and you know the addresses and the telephone number. Until tomorrow evening, from everybody here, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be dry with clear spells, but feeling chilly and very windy. Lows of 4 degrees. Tomorrow will be cloudy with rain, becoming brighter though with sunny spells, highs of 10 degrees. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Good evening, you're watching Estuary News, I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, homeless protesters pack up in Hull, volunteering in Scunthorpe and fighting domestic abuse across north-east Lincolnshire. And later in this evening's programme, my guests Trevor and Anne Chase talk about a new history of Barrow, and before that, a first-class arrival from Adam Clarkson about this year's Christmas Scout Post project in Grimsby. Homelessness protesters in Hull who set up camp in Queen's Gardens last week are leaving, according to reports this evening. An injunction has been granted to ban the protesters setting up anywhere else on council-owned land with immediate effect. The organisers of Tent City are protesting the lack of houses given to homeless people However, the council has confirmed that it's found accommodation for rough sleepers. Organisers of Tent City are advising homeless people to reject the hostels until a permanent base is offered. Courts in Scunthorpe are set to close next month as part of a financial shake-up. It means all North Lincolnshire Magistrate Court cases will be dealt with at Grimsby Magistrates Court from January. North Lincolnshire's county and family courts will close on the 22nd of December. Fred McNamara brings us this report.
Already having been announced that it will be closing, Scunthorpe Family Court and County Court will now be closing on December 22nd, which is earlier than expected. In the new year, the majority of North Lincolnshire Council court cases will be transferred and dealt with at Grimsby Magistrates Court instead. These will include council tax, trading standards, non-school attendance, food hygiene, business rates, family and noise nuisance. In a statement, the Ministry of Justice said, Scunthorpe Magistrates, County and Family Court is situated 28 miles from Grimsby, and there are road, rail and bus links to and from the receiving sites. It is accepted and regrettable that some attendees will face significant journeys, but they are a small minority, and we must have greater regard for the majority. The transfer of cases is set to be implemented in January 2017. Fred McNamara, Estuary News.
Officers investigating a break-in at a Cleethorpes nightclub are keen to speak to 3 men. A group of 6 men walked past the Barcelona club on Grant Street at around 6:10 a.m. on the 6th of November when 2 of them kicked open the door. 5 of the group then went into the club and left with alcohol taken from behind the bar. They headed towards the Swashbuckle pub. A note of apology and cash to pay for the damage was sent to the manager later in the day. Officers are keen to speak to anyone who can identify the men seen in these CCTV images or witnesses who've not yet come forward. Detectives are appealing for witnesses after an attempted robbery in Hull. This incident happened at around 10:15 p.m. on the 26th of October when a 38-year-old man was walking home alone following a night out. He was approached by 3 men who repeatedly asked the victim for money. The man ran away from the group but was punched in the back. Anyone with information is asked to call Humberside Police on 101. North East Lincolnshire Council is supporting a national movement to fight domestic abuse against women. The council aims to raise awareness of the White Ribbon campaign through workplaces and local communities. The campaign encourages men to take a share of the responsibility by condemning abuse against women. They can show their support by wearing a white ribbon or becoming a White Ribbon ambassador. There were 4,205 reported incidents of domestic abuse reported in North East Lincolnshire in 2014 to 15. Anyone interested in becoming a White Ribbon ambassador can contact Claire White on 01472 326 429. A fleet of electric vehicles will arrive in Hull this week to combat air pollution in the city. They'll be used across Hull City Council services, including library services and parking enforcement. The authority is also making a significant investment to replace street lights in the city with LED lights to further reduce carbon emissions. Councillor Martin Mancy, portfolio holder for Energy City, said that the council is actively looking at carbon reduction technologies. A task force has been set up in Scunthorpe for members of the community to take pride in their area. Volunteers will contribute 2 hours of their time every fortnight to help with tasks such as litter picking, leaflet distribution and crime prevention schemes. Fred went along to lend a helping hand.
The whole idea really is about having resilient communities. We know that the people who live in areas such as Westcliff or the local villages know more about their area than the local police force or the council do. They've got a real stake in it being a good place to live. That's where the whole idea comes from. So what we want is to involve local people in making their communities safe, in making their towns and villages and estates a good place to be.
From a police perspective, we're delighted to be supporting Safer Neighbourhoods, North Links Council, On Go Homes, who've formed this partnership here. and it's a very important partnership for the local community, and the volunteer task force is just one aspect really of what's going on here. It's all about bringing the community together, empowering the community, as we say, to take some local pride in their area. There's a lot of good things going on Westcliff, a lot of good people who live here, and it's really about tapping into that and making Westcliff a better place to live and work.
Well, we see the Westcliff Task Force has been a prototype for other communities. So what we'd like to do is to see if this is successful, to see if it adds value to what the council does and what the police do, and if so, then roll it out to other communities in North Lincolnshire.
Well, clearly, once people have more pride in their area, then they take more awareness of that, and they look after each other, they look after their neighbours, and they take more pride in their area, and that in itself helps to improve the area, and that has a knock-on effect on crime and antisocial behaviour and those sorts of issues. So that's where we're looking for improvement from it. Then when you're talking about things like today's initiative, which is crime prevention, and there are several of these going on, then that of course helps us as well, because prevention's better than the cure, as we all know. And it's all right crime being committed and us having success in detecting it, but what we'd really like to do is lower the number of crimes that are taking place in the first place, and crime prevention advice and having these additional volunteers who can help us, because our resources are not innumerable, of course, so having additional volunteers to help the police and spread that message is a wonderful thing for us.
Well, above all else, I think it's about pride in your community. It's about getting people involved in making their own lives better. It's also about getting them connected with public services, with the police force, the fire and rescue service, so that they can convey their needs to the public servants who are there to assist them. But above all else, this is community driven. This is not about the council doing something to Westcliff residents. It's about Westcliff residents standing up and saying, this is where I live, I'm proud of it, and I'm going to make sure it's great.
And I'm joined now by Adam Clarkson of the Grimsby and Cleethorpes Scout Post to tell me more about this year's campaign. Adam, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Good afternoon.
Now, last time, before we talk about the Scout Post, last time you were here, you were talking about a concert in which you were playing to raise money for the air ambulance.
Yeah, that's right. So we had the Live at the Warehouse, which was last Saturday, to raise money for Lincoln Knots Air Ambulance.
Did you play well?
Well, I hope so. The feedback I've got was very positive from the event. So.
And did you have a good full house?
Yes, a lot of people turned up, sold a lot of tickets. So.
Excellent. And do you have any idea, it's a bit soon to tell, I suppose, but how much money do you think you raised?
At the minute, the current count is on £720.
Brilliant. Well done you. Absolutely fantastic. Let's talk about this. What is the Scout Post? You presumably can't just post Boy Scouts across the countryside, can you?
No, the Scout Post is a method of sending Christmas cards across the area. So instead of sending them by Royal Mail and spending, can't remember how much the standard stamp is at the minute, but the Scout Post stamps are only 25p each, and they go directly to helping Scout groups in the area.
I think that's about a quarter of the price, maybe a little bit less than a quarter of the price of a stamp these days. So where can people get these stamps?
So the stamps are on sale in quite a few newsagents around the area. There's a full list available on our website, which is gycscouts.org.uk. So if you look in your local newsagents or spar shop, the stamps went on sale last Friday, and so you'll be able to find stamps there.
And you just post them, you can't use Royal Mail post boxes, presumably pillar boxes.
No, they have their own specific post boxes, so wherever stamps are sold, there should also be a post box there, and they get emptied daily.
How far away can one send a letter or send a Christmas card?
The furthest away really we do is Immingham and surrounding villages. Of course, Grimsby and Cleethorpes are our biggest areas, but we don't go any further afield than that. So if you send a Christmas card in the post aiming to go to Manchester or further afield, it unfortunately won't get there.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it's a local project for local scouts, and there's presumably, as always, with the post office, there's a final posting date to get there for Christmas. When should people be doing this?
Yeah, the final post is on 6 p.m. on Friday the 9th of December, so you've got a few weeks left to post your cards. And like I say, they went on sale last Friday, so you'll be able to get your stamps right now.
And presumably there'll be scouts rushing across North East Lincolnshire delivering these cards?
Oh yeah, we have hundreds of scouts get involved with sending out cards across the area. They're all delivered by hand and they're all sorted by hand as well.
And the money raised is going towards?
Well, the money just goes into each group in the area. Each group that takes part in Scout Post and helps deliver cards and sort cards gets a small percentage of that money. But all the money goes back into scouting.
Brilliant. Okay, well, people can find the newsagents, spar shops, I think you said, and use that Scout Post. And, well, good luck, Adam. Thank you very much for coming in. And well done for creating a bit of a rivalry with the Royal Mail. Join me after the break when we'll have a roundup of all the latest sports news. And I'll be talking to Trevor and Anne Chase about the history of Barrow. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, a roundup of all the latest sports news. And I'll be talking to Trevor and Anne Chase about the history of Barrow. The Humberside Police and Crime Panel is looking for a community-minded individual to join the panel as a co-opted member. The main role of the Police and Crime Panel is to scrutinise the Police and Crime Commissioner and to promote openness in the delivery of policing services. The co-opted member will act as an independent voice on the panel. Applicants must be over 18 and live or work in the Humberside Police area. Anybody interested in applying can email Police and Crime Panel, all one word, at northlinks.gov.uk. The closing date for applications is the 9th of December, and good luck with that. East Riding Council's Foreshores team is giving local people the opportunity to own a piece of Bridlington's history by selling the former Spa boating lake fleet. 12 boats are available for purchase. They're no longer in working order and they'll require repair by their new owners. All the mechanical parts of the boats have been removed and only the wooden frames are available. Anyone wishing to own one of these or who wants further information can email foreshores@eastriding.gov.uk or phone 01262 678 255. All bids to be submitted by midnight on the 30th of November, and the bids will be opened on the 1st of December. Scunthorpe Hospital League of Friends has purchased an electrocardiogram machine for the ambulatory care unit. It's the League's latest purchase. Unit manager Karen Rowe said it's a really significant piece of equipment for the department as it's used on a daily basis to investigate patients and carry out work. Now, I'm joined now by Trevor and Anne Chase, who've published a book, or helped to publish a book, involving their families' memoirs, telling the history of Barrow upon Humber, Goxhill and New Holland. Welcome, both of you. Thank you very much. Cherry, you're telling me.
Yes.
What are you trying to communicate with me here?
The surname is Cherry and not Chase.
I beg your pardon. In that case, I apologise. My own typing has got in the way there. Terry and Anne Chase, I'm so sorry. And I'm particularly apologetic because you are the Lord of the Manor.
Of Barrow and Humber, yes.
Now, tell us, how did you come to be Lord of the Manor?
In 1981, my great-aunt Dora went down to Colchester secretly and purchased the manorial rights by auction. And she achieved them by outbidding the Americans. So she came back to Barrow with the title Lady of the Manor.
Brilliant. And
following her passing, she inherited the various documents, and in addition to that, the documents then went up into North Yorkshire and were never seen again for about 10 years. So we managed to get the hint that my cousin up there wished to sell them. So we had them all valued, and we decided we'd purchase the manorial rights of Barrow and Humber and keep it in the family.
And as documentation of that, may I hold up this magnificent, I don't know if it's a parchment, I don't know what to call it.
It's called an indenture.
An indenture?
Yes.
And this is an original document, and as it says at the top, I won't try to read it all out, but as it says at the top, it's from the first year of the reign of George III, which is 1760.
Yes.
And what a magnificent piece of work it is as well.
Yes.
What privileges do you get? What rights do you have as Lord of the Manor?
Well, it's all written down in the town book, isn't it? But you have the rights, not me.
Yeah, I think most of the rights have been overtaken by the Acts of Parliament.
Democracy, it's appalling, isn't
yes.
it? No regard for tradition.
But I understand I've still got some rights, really, foreshore of the River Humber in the parish of Barrow, New Holland. So if the EU come up with a new directive which concerns maintenance of the Humber Bank, then they have to contact me for permission to do it. I can't see me refusing somehow.
Oh, I don't know. I think there can be a certain amount of controversy. So I must just show as well, this is wonderful insignia you have as Lord of the Manor. And does every Lord of the Manor have this?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. This medallion.
They tend to join the Manorial Society.
Right.
And for that you get the insignia and membership of the society.
Well, this is quite ancient looking, though, isn't it?
Yes,
This
it is.
as if it's been passed down along with, with the documentation.
Yes.
Now, your ancestor, that's the wrong word, your sort of great aunt,
yes,
is the person who originally saved this right from the Americans, and she's also the inspiration for this new book, Dora Borrell's Jottings.
Yes.
Trevor, Dora Borrell was the sister of your grandmother, of your grandfather?
She was the daughter of my great aunt.
Right.
And her mother and my grandfather were brother and sisters.
So she has provided a certain amount of research into the history of the area.
Yes.
And here she is with her holding up her copy of the document.
Yes.
Yes.
What have you done with her research here?
Oh.
Well, we discovered amongst all the documents 6 boxes, and contained in the 6 boxes was all the jottings that she'd put together. She insisted on writing anything about historical items locally, and just picking up a scrap of paper or a birthday card and writing it on the back. So we discovered this along with a lot of old photographs in these boxes, and as chairman of the Barrow and Humber Local History Group, I thought, well, this really cannot be wasted. So we typed up the jottings, Anne and I, took them to the evening class, we added research to them, plus a lot of old photographs, and we've really finished up with what I think is a nice publication.
Well, it is an absolutely beautiful publication, and it's clearly as an editorial nightmare just to take all those scraps of paper and put them into some sort of coherent order.
Yes.
The Dora Borrell's Jottings, and it is a fantastic history, just better get in where people can get their hands on this.
It's available at the local newsagents in Barrow and Humber. They can also buy it at the Brigg Tourist Information Centre and the Water's Edge Centre in Barton and Humber. And there's also some in the shop in New Holland and Goxhill, just to spread the gospel a little.
And how's it selling?
Very well indeed. We had 250 copies printed, and I think I've 40 left.
Right, so this is a bit of a rarity.
We timed it really, thinking it'd be a nice Christmas box.
A couple of highlights from the history though. I mean, Henry VIII visited here?
Yes. Yes, he did. He made a progress with his Queen, Catherine Howard, and he went from Westminster, he went across the Humber and back again via Thornton Abbey. He visited there because, of course, the dissolution of the monasteries was quite a big topic in this area.
It would have been, and certainly in that time.
Yes.
There's a lot more interesting history in here as well.
Yes.
John Harris and various other characters.
Yes.
Fascinating. Thank you both for coming in, and I look forward to reading this. Absolutely wonderful.
No,
Thank
it's
you
our
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now here's all the sports news. The Football League has announced that controversial plans for the biggest reform of the sport in over 20 years in England have been scrapped. The whole game solution was being considered by the EFL and could have included the adoption or the addition of a new League 3 to increase the number of teams in the system. However, the proposals would have meant some FA Cup games being moved to weekdays, something that the governing body was unwilling to accept. The EFL says the decision has been taken with significant regret and disappointment. One of Hull City's history-making squad from 2008 has retired from professional football today. Sam Ricketts started at right back in the club's win against Bristol City in the playoff final at Wembley to take them to the Premier League for the first time. He's been playing for Coventry City in League One this campaign, but was advised to quit the game by medical staff after a persistent knee problem. On to Rugby League, and Hull Kingston Rovers have confirmed that they'll face Leeds Rhinos during pre-season. The game will be Ryan Hall's testimonial game and will take place at Headingley on Friday the 20th of January. Meanwhile, new Robins signing George Milton says the style enforced by new head coach Tim Sheens will help to improve his game. An Australian World Cup winner, Sheens is known for an expansive style, and Milton believes it'll help him flourish in the championship next season. Hull FC's experienced players are set to return to pre-season training in the next few weeks. Many of the squad's younger players and new signings return to their to the County Road base on Monday, but the likes of Gareth Ellis and Danny Horton have been granted extra time away after a gruelling 2016, and that's it for the sport. And that's it for tonight. No time for a picture, I'm afraid, but please get in touch with us via Facebook or Twitter. Details are underneath me today. Phone Grimsby 01472 31553 or write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN 34 5BQ. That's it for this evening. Until tomorrow, good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be dry with clear spells, but feeling chilly and very windy. Lows of 4 degrees. Tomorrow will be cloudy with rain, becoming brighter though with sunny spells, highs of 10 degrees. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.
Good evening, welcome to Estuary News. I'm Hugh Richards. In the headlines tonight, Hull's hopes of high-speed rail are scrapped, campaigning for fairer pension rights in Hull, and the final chance for Cleethorpes to prove it has Britain's greatest high street. And a little later in the programme, I'll be joined by John Hemingway and Gareth Jones to talk about Hull's deepest and darkest secrets and a new museum for them. And before that, memories at Dove House Hospice with Paul Jackson. Hull City Council has stepped in to move homelessness protesters in Queen's Gardens. They were ordered by a judge to leave yesterday afternoon, but remained overnight. Council notices were put on the tents this morning, advising the campaigners that they could be held in contempt of court if they stayed at the site. An injunction has been granted to ban the protesters setting up anywhere else on council-owned land. The organisers of Tent City are protesting the lack of houses given to homeless people. However, the council has confirmed that it's found accommodation for rough sleepers. The Hull rail electrification scheme has been turned down by the government. It would have allowed significantly faster journey times between Hull and other cities, but the electrification of the track will run only as far as Selby, meaning trains from both London and the north will use slower diesels for the final leg of the journey to Hull. The decision could mean that Hull's ambitions for a Hullapool extension to the high-speed 3 plan linking Hull to Liverpool are dashed. The Hullapool line has been one of the Hull and Humber Chamber of Commerce's top 5 transport priorities for the region. A spokesman for the Department of Transport said the current train operators already deliver a range of passenger benefits without the need for electrification. Hull North MP Diane Johnson described the decision as absolutely disgraceful. Matt Jukes, the Chief Executive of Hull City Council, is to write to the Prime Minister in support of over 10,000 Hull women who've been affected by pension changes. The Hull Women Against State Pension Inequality Group, known as WASPI, attended a full council meeting today at the Guildhall to lobby the authority to bring about fairer changes to their state pension. Councillor Mary Glue is the chair of the Hull branch.
We're here to ask Council to lend their support to the WASPI campaign, to ask the government to do the right thing by the women, a whole generation of women affected by these pension changes brought about by the coalition government of 2011. The right thing to be done is to make fair transitional payments to these women that have lost countless thousands of money. 10,000 women are affected in this city, 2.65 million women nationally. I wear my suffrage colours with pride, as I do my WASPI banner. I wear them both. These women, the suffrage women, fought for the right to vote. These women are fighting for the right to a pension.
There are women on such hardship, women who are selling their homes because they have no money to live on. It is a national disgrace. And yet they're spending millions and millions refurbishing Westminster.
Plans for a visitor attraction at the Humber Bridge have been rejected by East Riding Council. They'd been proposed by the Humber Bridge Board and included having new gondolas running to the top of the Humber Bridge, as well as a new office space and a visitor centre. Detectives are appealing for witnesses after a robbery in Grimsby. The incident happened on Monday at 10:30 p.m. in Weelsby Woods, where an 18-year-old man was jogging when 4 unknown men jumped out at him. It happened close to Weelsby Woods Cafe. He was assaulted and the men stole his grey iPhone 6S and a black Ted Baker wallet. He sustained a graze to his forehead and bruising to his back. Anyone with information is asked to call Humberside Police on 101. Thousands of families across our region are struggling with debt, according to new research released by the Children's Society. More than 1 in 6 families across Yorkshire and the Humber have been failing to keep up with household bills and low repayments in the last year. The evidence also shows that in some cases children are going without basics such as food, clothing or heating, as well as suffering worry, anxiety and bullying. The charity, as part of its Debt Trap campaign, is calling for changes to how creditors treat families with children who fall behind on bills and repayments. It's urging the government to introduce a 12-month breathing space scheme to give struggling families a period of protection from additional charges. Voting closes at midnight tomorrow to choose a Cleethorpes Street as the greatest high street in the country. Seaview Street is in the finals of this year's Great British High Street competition. Lawrence Brown explains why people should vote for Cleethorpes.
Seaview Street, firstly, is a great place to come and shop. I mean, where else can you stroll along the street and you can get a coffee, you can buy a handbag. There's even a couple of estate agents. If you want to buy a 3-bedroom house, you can buy one of those as well. But more importantly than that, it's the heart of the resort of Cleethorpes. It's right at the centre, and what we're already seeing is the success of Seaview Street spilling out into the streets nearby, so spilling out into Cambridge Street and also into Alexandra Road. A lot of independence. There's no multiples along Seaview Street. Every shop along Seaview Street is owned by an independent operator, which gives a great variety and diversity in terms of the mix and the offer that's available for people to come and enjoy.
And if you'd like to vote for Seaview Street in the competition, visit the Great British High Street, all one word, .co.uk. New streets across Cottingham will feature the names of soldiers from the village who died serving their country. The names will be addresses as part of the village's new housing stock. 12 full names and over 100 surnames of those killed in battle have already been approved by East Riding Council. But Councillor Kevin Casson says relatives can still come forward with names.
If people have relatives that was fallen in the Great War or the Second World War, if they could write in to the Cottingham Parish Council via myself or just the Parish Council, giving permission for their relatives' name to be used in full, we would greatly appreciate that.
The Gritters of Grimsby are gearing up for action. North East Lincolnshire Council's Highways Winter Services team is now on call to tackle the frost-bitten streets across the county.
Well, the gritting team are on call. A lot of people forget that. You know, when they're on call, there's no alcohol allowed. You know, it spoils family parties and things like that. But these men do their utmost to make sure that everything is safe for road users. And of course, road users should be prepared as well. They should make sure their vehicles are safe, their tyres are good, the screen wash has got antifreeze in it. So they're prepared as well as our road team. The winter's not predicted to be any worse than ever, but we have got slightly more grit this year with 2,800 tonnes, which is more than enough, and we're confident that we're prepared for whatever the winter brings. We've all drove behind gritters and complained about them slowing the traffic down, but when you see what these guys do, it's important. It's a vital role that they have on behalf of the council.
Now I'm joined by Paul Jackson to tell me how Dove House Hospice is helping to remember loved ones by lighting up a life over the Christmas season. Jacko, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Absolute pleasure here, and a real fantastic opportunity to tell your viewers and of course yourself about the wonderful Light Up a Life appeal which we're doing on Thursday the 1st of December at Hull City Hall.
I think you've got half the facts of the story in that first sentence. Jacko, just remind us, where is Dove House? How many people does it look after?
Well, Dove House is on Chamberlain Road in Hull, and we support the people of Hull and East Riding, and that encompasses over 600,000 people. And we support hundreds and hundreds of people per year, and we've actually been open since 1980, so that actually goes into thousands. And we do that through obviously our daycare unit and obviously our inpatient unit as well. And not only do we support the patients, but importantly we support the families as well.
Now, what happens, people, we're all mortal, I'm afraid everybody loses people. If we want to use this way of remembering people and providing a little bit of money for Dove House as well, where should we be and what should we be doing?
Well, certainly we should be at the Hull City Hall on Thursday the 1st of December at 7:30 p.m. That's the Pacific point. However,
what will be happening there? That's the Pacific point.
Well, very good point. We'll be doing lots of different things. There will be, of course, readings, and there will be music. But importantly, there'll be opportunity for people to remember their loved ones, because Christmas, I'm sure you would agree, I know personally for me, you do obviously remember people throughout the year, but Christmas is a poignant time. And we can do that through actually doing a number of different things. One is actually having a commemorative card, which is the name of the loved one, having a personalised star on a dedication tree, actually at the town hall. And we reciprocate that actually at Dove House as well, and that will remain on the tree right the way through to the new year. And a lot of this is about people coming together, the community coming together, and it's not just about remembering the loved one on your own, but you can invite your family and friends and share the experience as well with others.
And so it is, it's a Light Up the Life is the name of the campaign, if that's what it is.
That's correct.
And so, but it doesn't have to be miserable, this sort of thing, does it?
Oh,
It doesn't have
no,
to be a
no.
sort of solemn and earnest and sad.
Certainly not. It's about celebration, and that's what it's about. And I know personally when I have attended such events, there's a very warm, happy, real
celebratory
atmosphere. Yes, definitely, because it is about that. It is about celebrating somebody's life.
I don't think you mentioned where and when it's happening, Jackie.
A third time.
Go on.
It's Thursday, the 1st of December at Hull Town Hall.
Brilliant. Lots of people attend. Thanks very much, Jackie.
Wonderful.
Join me after the break when we'll have a roundup of the latest sports action, and I'll be talking to my second guests today about unearthing Hull's darkest secrets. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, we'll have a roundup of all the latest sporting news, and I'll be talking to John Hemingway and Gareth Jones about unearthing Hull's darkest secrets. And I'm joined now by I'm joined now by John Hemingway and Gareth Jones. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in. I don't know why I confused myself there. There's a museum that you two want to start getting going as part of the Hull Year of Culture, and it's the Dark History. Just tell me, what's the Dark History, John?
So the Dark History is 700 years dark history of Hull. So it'll be a museum that'll take you back, going over the 700 years of Hull and the surrounding area. So it'll cover things like the Black Death, cholera, witchcraft.
All the cheerful stuff?
Yeah, all the cheerful stuff, all the dark side of things, yeah.
But when you say dark history, do you mean dark as in the sense that people just don't know about it? There hasn't been much light shined on it? Or do you mean dark as in dark?
Yeah, a bit of both. People don't know about it because there's nowhere in Hull you can go and find out this information. So basically it'll be covering the stuff that's not available to go and see, unless you go down to the History Centre and find this stuff out. So yeah, it'll be dark as in that people don't know about it, but we'll be covering the dark side of things like witchcraft and Black Death and so on.
Well, I just have to get the very ancient matter of things, rather modern matter. You're setting up the website, Gareth, as well.
I am indeed, yeah. We've got a website at the moment. It's called www.thedarkhistorymuseum.co.uk. At the moment, it's still in the process of being fully completed, but we do have a crowdfunding website on there to help us get it up and running. As I said, to keep up to date, we do have mailing lists as well, which will be going up on there shortly. So if people want to follow up what we do, they can go to our website and we can get on with it.
Excellent. Okay. Do you have a venue yet?
We do have a venue. All I can say at this moment in time, because it's going through the legal process, is it's in the town centre and it's close to the interchange, the bus station, train station. So that is going through at the moment, and hopefully we'll have all the planning through and everything to open for City of Culture.
Well, this is it's sort of an educational facility. It's not just a matter of, a ghost train, thrills and spills, but it's not just a glass case museum, is it?
It isn't, no. I mean, what we plan to open is not just a museum where you go and look at artefacts and things like that. This will be a walk-through museum which will include actors, tour guides, things like that. So as you're going through,
as much a performance as a.
It is, yeah. Rather than just going and read storyboards, which will be in there, you'll be able to take them back 700 years, live what it was like 700 years ago, smell the smells, interact with the actors, which will be coming from 700 years ago, right to present day. So you'll be able to interact with a lot of things going around there, and then learn the education of Hull from that.
This is a sort of increasingly popular style of having museums, I guess, isn't it? I mean, I can't help thinking of, I know it's going to be a little bit more serious than the London dungeons, but that's an element of that to it, but also of Jorvik, which has been there for several decades now in York as a Viking museum. Are these the inspirations? Is this the sort of technology behind it?
It's kind of the inspirations, but we're going more along the educational side of it. The dungeons themselves are gimmicky, as in you will learn something from them, but you're more there for entertainment. With the way people are these days, people learn more from technology and interaction rather than literally going up and reading a book, which is
tragic.
Tragic, it really is. Because, I mean, as I said, John already mentioned, most of what we find is it written down. You can't find it anywhere else. So you would have to literally sit there and read it. So what we're trying to do is bring that gimmick, but make it educational in terms of putting it in front of somebody, literally, so they can watch it and learn from that.
So that it's not just a matter of reading the abstract words,
No,
it's experiencing
it's
the sensation.
experiencing it as well, yeah.
John, you mentioned that you're part of Hull City of Culture, at least you want to let it coincide with Hull City of Culture.
Yes.
How deeply involved has the Hull City of Culture been in helping you?
Hull City Culture have been to, we had a lot of pop-up museums over the last 2 years. We've done a lot of market research, pop-up museums. Hull City Culture have visited those pop-up museums and been backing us on that way. Obviously, we put in for funding for the City of Culture, but we had no joy with that. But we are going down other funding avenues as well. So, but yeah, they have been interested in the project.
You're not. I mean, it sounds like a fascinating museum to me. But are you not a little bit worried that during the City of Culture, there's the worst time to be opening a new museum because there's so much competition of things for people to go and see and occupy people that. I don't know, they'll all be watching the opera or something instead of coming.
A lot of the events that are going on during City of Culture are obviously 1 day, 2 day events. This is something what we want to open for City of Culture, but this is something which will stay open, hopefully for many years after City of Culture. There's not many of those projects what are opening and staying open as a full blown business like that. So I don't think it'll affect us at all, and there's nobody else really going into the depth of what we're doing as well.
I was going to say, on the reverse side of that, with it being City of Culture, it will draw more people in. So although opening up, we will have competition. There'll be more people there to take a pot from that competition.
We know aspects of Hull City's history. We know, of course, about William Wilberforce, something that the Hallensians are all very rightly proud of, and we know about fishing, and we know about King Charles I trying to get into the city, kicking off the Civil War there. But there are sort of more secret aspects to it. I mean, I didn't know that there was a piratical history, John.
Yeah. There's obviously a history of where the pirates came into the Humber. They was caught and arrested and put on chains on the riverbank of the Humber. 7 of them left there to die at the River Humber.
And just before I go to the sport, which will be next, there's an aspect of witchcraft as well.
Yeah, well, witchcraft was popular around the entire country, not just in Hull.
Popular?
Well, popular, as in it was like almost a get-out method for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If they didn't like them, you accuse them of witchcraft. It did go on in Hull. And as aspects of that, we will cover it.
Just remind us very quickly of that web address if people want to get in touch, Gareth.
www.thedarkhistorymuseum.co.uk.
Gentlemen, good luck with that. It sounds fascinating.
Thank you
very much. Now, here's all the sports news. Grimsby Town manager Marcus Bignot says winger Tom Bolana, I'm going to give this one another go, Ballerinwa, and my apologies to the gentleman, still has a lot to learn, but that he's been impressed by what he's seen so far. The summer signing has been on the fringes of the Mariners' starting lineup so far this season, but netted a hat-trick for the reserves in midweek. And Bignot says that accompanied by an impressive substitute appearance last Saturday, that means he's in the frame to start at Plymouth in less than 48 hours.
You know, he's very much part of it, and he came on Saturday and played a real good positive in terms of getting us up the pitch and playing in and around their defensive third, our final third. So he can be pleased with how he's gone about things. The manager's certainly pleased with him, and I like him as a person as well. He puts a smile on my face. So he's a real nice person to have around the football club, and also a real positive to have on it.
Scunthorpe United defender David Murphin will be out of action for a month with a foot injury. It's been confirmed today. Speaking to the press, the manager Graham Alexander says he'll be a big loss.
He's going to be out for a while. Unfortunately for Murph, he's had it scanned and so forth, and he's injured the bottom of his foot. So he's going to be out for a little while, which is a shame, because he was playing ever so well. Part of the team, keeping clean sheets and winning games. But so he's going to have a spell on the sidelines. But it opens the door up for somebody else to come in and sort of show what they're about, and that's what this squad has been about since the start of the season. I think apart from 1 or 2 individuals, I think everyone's missed the game.
And his centre-half colleague Charlie Good has had limited game time this season. Alexander says he believes he's ready to be called upon.
He never let us down. He's actually really impressed each game he's played, and he's trained exceptionally well. Ready for the opportunity when it comes along. And he had those 2 games before having to come on last week. I thought it stood him in good stead, ready to come into that game. And so if he starts on Saturday, he's had 3 games to prepare for that.
Hull City has confirmed today that supporters wanting to go to the game at Sunderland on Saturday will be able to pay on the gate. The game at the Stadium of Light sees 2 of the Premier League's bottom 3 going head-to-head. Tickets are available from the KCOM Stadium ticket office until noon tomorrow, or can be bought at the game. Elsewhere, North Ferriby United are preparing for National League action on Saturday. They'll welcome Sutton United to the Aon Visual Media Stadium as they try to lift themselves off the bottom of the table. And that's it for tonight, I'm afraid. Here's another picture courtesy of Pete Barwick. Absolutely beautiful wintry skies. Perhaps you've a photo you can send in of your local area. Please send it to us in the usual ways: Facebook, Twitter, or email news@estuary.tv, or phone us. Contacts will come up in a moment. For this evening, thank you very much for watching. Good evening.
With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby. Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tonight will be dry with clear spells, but feeling chilly and very windy. Lows of 4 degrees. Tomorrow will be cloudy with rain, becoming brighter though with sunny spells, highs of 10 degrees. With university courses on your doorstep, there's lots of reasons to study at the University Centre Grimsby. Sponsored by the University Centre Grimsby.